Good morning, Eco TV International listeners who are resident in the Gambia, those who are abroad also, and good evening or good afternoon to you, wherever you are. My name is Larry Sise. We are back on our usual Thursday program, and with me is my colleague Lamin Mane. Lamino is still not available to join us. Lamin.
Thank you very much, Larry. And good morning, good afternoon, good evening to our viewers around the world, starting from the Gambia. We are happy to be back with you again, and thank you for welcoming us into your homes. And as usual, we'll be discussing the Gambia we want. Thank you.
Thank you, Lamin. Today, as we've been telling you in the last 2 weeks, we are going to do the transition from literally focusing the program content of this podcast to some of the things that this government is doing. We are going to transition into what a UDP government is going to do about some of those things that we talked about in the areas of corruption, respect for the rule of law, constitutionalism, reforms, and public sector reforms, institutional reforms, security sector reforms. These are all some of the things that we are going to be focusing on beginning today. We are going to base our interventions on the 2 penultimate UDP documents, the 5 points agenda and the manifesto, which are still very relevant, in fact more relevant today than they were when they were crafted. And we are going to be talking about all these issues around that. We are going to also talk about how a UNDP government is going to function.
UDP.
A UDP government is going, it won't be a UNDP. How a UDP government is going to function. As I said, we want efficient, effective service delivery. We want to bring back constitutionalism. We want to bring back the rule of law. We want to deepen our commitment to the well-being and welfare of Gambians here and abroad. And of course, the first thing that the party leader promised to us in a UDP government, the first action will be to bring back the 2020 Constitution. That should usher in a new series of reforms that we've been talking about. Before we go into those, we want to take this opportunity to respond to the appearance of the President's Chief of Staff, his Secretary General, and his Minister of State in the presidency, one man holding 3 positions, constitutional positions, which comes with 3 different accountabilities. Maud Sise and Ismaila Sise were at coffee time last Tuesday to talk about the Auditor General's exit and the Auditor General's audit reports 2021, 2022, 2023. It was amazing listening to this gentleman. I don't know about you, Lavin, but I was amazed and literally flabbergasted at the way they are handling this response to these audit reports. Because here is a series of audit reports, 3 to be exact, that have been certified by the finance minister.
Yes.
And we have to emphasize that, certified by the finance minister. And you have 2 state ministers appearing on a public platform to dispute the contents of that report.
Yeah.
And they not only disputed the contents of the report, they put a spin to it.
Yeah.
And I always say this government is very adept at deflecting, rationalizing the irrational, defending the indefensible, and literally misinforming and disinforming Gambians. That whole program was a piece of despicable misinformation on Gambians, because they did not talk to the issues the Auditor General has raised.
Exactly.
They did not talk to the issues that I had raised the previous week.
Exactly.
And these are very serious matters, because they are not talking to us about what they're going to do about corruption. They are talking to us deflecting what we are saying. I think they even went to the extent of saying these are UDP figures.
Yeah, yeah.
These are not UDP figures. Maud Sise, Ismaila Sise, these are your Auditor General's figures. UDP is just representing, presenting its views on them. We have no issues with what the Auditor General has said. In fact, if anything, we agree with the Auditor General that you guys did not give him all the information he needed to give you a good composite picture. You are hiding something, but it will come out. We are not interested in the politics that you play. What we deal with in our programs, whichever programs we appear, what we deal with are facts and figures. And we do not manufacture, unlike you, we do not manufacture facts and figures. We call them as they come. For 2 state ministers who sat in the cabinet, who sit in the cabinet, to say the audit reports that the finance minister certified does not represent what the realities are. It's mind-boggling.
Yeah.
I could not even fathom how 2 grown-ups would actually go to a platform like that and just dispute their own finance minister.
It's not only unfathomable, it's just pitiful. It's pitiful in the sense that we are proud to call those UDP figures because they represent the reality. And today, anybody who speaks the truth, anybody who sides with the Gambians is UDP. So we are, yes, we wear it as a badge of honor. So those figures, call them UDP figures. We are proud to call them UDP figures. You should also have been honest enough to call them Gambia government and Gambian figures. These figures come from the Auditor General's office. They did a fantastic piece of work on this. And as you said, that work was certified by your colleague, Minister of Finance.
Which is his constitutional duty.
And these fall under his purview. And he went through them. And he thinks they're okay. He certified them. And it went to Parliament. And you sit there and call them UDP figures while we wear that on our shirt sleeves. The unfortunate thing is, this minister who calls Gambians, talking to the Gambians about the reality, he calls them pseudo-analysts when he is simply a pseudo-intellectual, incapable of understanding what's happening there, and he pretends he's an expert. He was in the Ministry of Finance, he said, he was in other different ministries, and he can't simply understand the rationale of these figures, or he is deliberately spinning and trying to disinform the Gambian population. But what most CISA should understand is that it's a credibility issue here, and he has none. He has none, so he cannot spin this. Today, we're just calling out their dishonesty. Next week, we're going to come back and do a whole program just on these audit reports. Nothing else. We just scraped the surface the last time. And Larry, you dealt with it at coffee time as well. And that you touched a raw nerve.
Yeah.
Because of that, they sent 2 ministers to go counter you. But we are ready for them. Next week, we're going to work on this and bring it here. And next week, we're going to spend the whole program on these audit reports and what they entail. This government should be ashamed of itself. This is why they did not want these audit reports to come out, because they know the elections are around the corner and all their malfeasance will come out. That's why they fired Maud Cisse. That's why they brought him in the first place, thinking he would cover for them and not continue the work that Karamba Toure was doing. That's why they brought him. And to their dismay, Maud Cisse did the job he was supposed to do.
Professional job.
Professionally, with his team. And they were upset. They got rid of him. And now they're trying to spin the good work done by the National Audit Office. Maud Cisse, you should be ashamed of yourself, because you are supposed to be the President's Chief of Staff. You are the one who's supposed to give him the most information that he gets and the best information, because you are the closest to him. You are his Chief of Staff. You should filter the information. You should get him the right information. Because we know Barrow is clueless, as his minister said.
Yep.
That is also not from us. It's from his Minister of Information, who calls him clueless. And he's still clueless. But you should be able to guide him, provide him with information, tell him what is right. If you're not a pseudo-intellectual, you should be able to do that for him. But no, all you engage in spinning and falsehoods, disinformation, misinformation. You think you're going to let that fly? We will not. Because if you don't challenge you on that, if you don't call you out, the Gambians might think you're telling the truth, which you are not. You are not telling them the truth. And we're going to expose that next week. We're going to come here next week, we're going to put it on the table, and we're going to put it on other platforms all across the country, so that the people see the falsehoods you are trying to spin. So we'll not spend too much time on it today, because we have work to do on what the UDP will do, but we'll come back to this next week and tell the Gambians what the reality is. Your credibility is down the drain. So we won't spend too much time on your credibility anyway. Thank you, Larry.
Yeah, one word they latch onto, and I think we should throw this out there. For those listeners who are accountants and auditors, and those who are generally interested in economic development issues. The one word they latched onto was the word disparity.
Yeah, and then discrepancy.
Discrepancy.
Yeah.
The word discrepancy. The discrepancies that they are talking about, you don't need to be an accountant or an auditor to know what a disparity means. It basically means that if A and B are equal, and at the beginning, at some point, they become unequal, the difference becomes your disparity.
Yeah.
So what hits them about that disparity is the $110 billion disparity that the Auditor General flagged.
Yeah.
And by the way, we didn't flag that. That was flagged by the host of the program that I was on.
Yeah.
And he asked what my views are, and I told him what my views are. I think these guys are just doing what we have always said they will be doing, and that is to deflect, to deny, to rationalize the irrational, to defend the indefensible, and to just attack you personally.
Yeah, yeah.
And this is vintage, this government. And that's what was on display this last Sunday. They could not answer to the issues that we have raised. And they never do answer to the issues that we raise. Every time we raise these issues, it becomes personal, because they attack you. They deflect and then they attack.
If Maud Cisse is confident in what he's saying, if he thinks that what his figures are correct and our analysis is wrong, what he can simply do, sit with either of us on a platform and discuss these issues. So we throw that challenge to you. Maud Cisse, come, sit with us on a platform and let's discuss these issues. And you see who comes out on top, whose facts are really the facts. You are entitled to your opinion, but you are not entitled to your own set of facts. The facts are facts, and they are there. And those facts are what are in the audit reports. These are facts, not opinions. The opinions are put out by people who use the best professional approaches and judgment to come up with those results. And then they submit those opinions to you for your take. If you cannot challenge them and show that they are wrong, it stays as the fact. And these are based on documentary evidence. So those facts, you are not entitled to your own. You are entitled to your opinion. I don't have any issues with that. Have your opinion. That's fine by me. But you're not entitled to your own set of facts. The facts are the same for everybody. And they are sacred. And you are a minister of state. You're supposed to be somebody who would defend veracity, not the other way around. So we will come back next week, and we will dissect this audit report in much more detail. Because last time we said there's so much to say, we can only scrape the surface.
Yep, that's what we
Even
said.
next week's program will not deal with all of it. But we will get the salient points next week for the 21, 22, and 23 reports, and we will bring them here, and we will tell the Gambian people. We might not have time to come over them in Wolof and Mandinka as we usually do, because I have so much to say, but we will give the gist of it in the local languages when we finish. So that's where we are. We might even appeal to our colleagues here to give us an extra half an hour to be able to do it, 1.5 hours in English, and maybe another 15 minutes in Wolof, 15 minutes in Mandinka to explain it to the country. But we will do that. So your spinning will not fly. Your falsehoods that you try to spin, we will call you out. The Gambian people deserve the truth, and we will tell them the truth. And when we are done, you'll have so much egg on your face that I'm not sure you'll show your face anymore in public.
Lamin, you know this word that he latched onto?
Mm-hmm. The discrepancy.
The discrepancy.
Yeah.
You know what the accounting definition of a discrepancy is?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I just, in talking about these things, when I saw it, I decided to check it out, and I just did right now. Let me just give you what I found out about accounting discrepancy.
Mm-hmm. The definition.
The definition.
Yeah.
An accounting discrepancy is defined as, quote, an accounting discrepancy refers to a difference or inconsistency between financial records and actual figures.
Yeah.
Discrepancy refers to a difference or inconsistency between financial records and actual figures. It indicates that something in the books doesn't match what should be there,
Yeah.
and may point to an error, omission, or even fraud.
Yeah.
So Motsise doesn't even know what he was talking about.
No, he doesn't. You see, because the discrepancy is where you cannot reconcile the facts
From the
with the
record.
figures that you have there.
Yeah.
It means that something that you reported was misreported deliberately, either by omission or by commission. You omitted to do it inadvertently, or you deliberately decided to do it as a commission. So it's either omission or commission, or outright fraud. So if you cannot reconcile your books, it means that you cannot reconcile the reality from the fiction. That's what it is. What they had in those books was the fiction, which was decried by reality. So the discrepancy is the balance between fiction and fact. You have fiction, the figures, and the facts, the reality. They don't match. You cannot reconcile them. What you cannot reconcile is what you need to explain.
Yeah, and that is the discrepancy.
And that is what the discrepancy is all about. But Motsise probably doesn't know that. So Motsise, for your information, discrepancy is where the facts and the figures don't match.
Yeah.
Where you can reconcile them. Where there's a discrepancy. And now you have to describe and explain and justify that difference. If you cannot do it, it's called fraud.
Yeah.
I hope that helps you.
It's an error, omission, or even fraud.
Yeah.
And these guys are not smart. This discrepancy thing, the way he is.
See, I'm not sure they're not smart. I think they are Machiavellic.
I'll withdraw that.
They are Machiavellic.
Yes.
They do it deliberately.
Yes, it's a deliberate
It's dishonesty.
type of misinformation.
Yeah, it's
that they are
dishonesty.
throwing out there.
Yeah.
Because the discrepancy issue comes with what the Auditor General said about the 3 audit reports, 2021, 22, 23. He says, based on his professional opinion, the government of the Gambia's financial statements are unreliable.
Exactly. That's the fact and fiction we're talking about.
They are unreliable and do not accurately represent central government's financial performance or position.
There you go.
Unreliable
Not
and do not
representing.
present an accurate record of the government's financial position.
Yeah.
And so therefore, they are not
That's where the discrepancy
they are
stems
not
from.
reliable, and that's where this discrepancy
Stems
comes
from,
from.
yeah.
It stems from this statement.
Exactly.
So rather than address the discrepancy,
Yeah.
because the figure is large, but then there is another large figure which we will deal with next week.
Yeah, exactly.
Which is around the same area as the discrepancies.
Yeah.
It's over 100 billion.
Mm-hmm.
So what this government is doing is actually denying and deflecting their own Auditor General.
Yeah.
And if you look at the manner in which they got rid of this Auditor General, we shouldn't be surprised that now the spin is to discredit him and to discredit some of us who are interpreting the audit reports.
Yeah.
Because interpretation of the audit report, you cannot add or subtract anything out of it. You just call a figure,
Yeah.
because that's what is in the report. And that's what professionals do.
And I think it's important that, we have time constraints. Let me say a few words about this in Wolof and you say it in Mandinka.
Yeah.
I think this is important.
Yeah.
mbokk yi li ñu doon wax tey ci suba si nii mooy barka démba Modou Cissé ak di Minister of Information demoon nañ Peter Gomez Coffee Time wax fa ay kàddu yoo xam ne méngoowuñu ak dëgg naan audit reports yi liñ ci wax du dëgg loolu ñu mooy li auditeur bi xalaat ñoom xalaatam la joxe ak ñi nga xam ne ñu doon wax ci affaire yi audit report njaaxum biñ ci def ñi koy waxtaanee ñooñu xamuñ li ñoo wax audit report bi du noonu la demee wax yu bari yoo xam ne du dëgg ñun nag duñ mën a bàyyi loolu mu romb parce que buñ ko bàyyi mu romb dafa mel ni liñ waxoon li Modou Cissé waxoon xëy na nañ foog ne dëgg la te dara du ci dëgg li Modou Cissé wax moom dafa toog ne li ñoo ooyee discrepancy mooy maanaam ay affaires yoo xam ne mu méngoowuñ ñii ne lii lañ am lii lañ dépasse ci at bi auditeur bi xool dépense bi xool firnde yu ko war a lalu mu xool leen mu leen yeen firnde ñu fi am yi war a lalu seen li ngeen wax yéen li ngeen bind loolu ngeen dépense ñaari ànduñ li ngeen wax ak li firnde yi wane day fa ute soo leen li ngeen di wax dara am na ci problème génneel ngeen wax réew mi lu xew wax leen lan moo doxut pour ñu mën a xam naka lañ koo saafare nga xam ne beneen yoon su déwén duñ defati loolu parce que audit luy njëriñu audit won la fi nga xam ne yàq nga fa dara fi nga xam ne daanu nga fa fi nga xam ne def nga loo xam ne du yoon pour nga bañ a dugal réew mi ci nguuta loolu la audit jublu waaye bu fekkee ne yow auditeur ñëw na seet sa dépense yeeg yëpp mu seet lim ndax jaar na yoon ndax jaarul yoon mu ne la lii jaarul yoon lii méngoowut ak yoon yow li la war mooy nga toog seet li mu wax da digga moo di léeg-léeg xew ñu xam waaye yow ñun seeram nga def loolu nga toog di attaque auditeur bi waaye auditeur bi li mu wax du dëgga ñi ko farleel du dëgg kenn farlewut auditeur bi li auditeur bi wax lañ dellu wax bamtuwaat ko pour réew gën a mën a xam li auditeur bi wax su fekkee ne yow am nga ci loo xam ne ute na ak loolu noonu nga am nga ci firnde indi ko ñu gis firnde bi parce que auditeur bu defee report am ba pare daf leen koo jox yéen nguur gi ne leen lii laa gis ci seen dépense yi li ngeen ci wax am na dëgg wala amul dëgg am na yoo xam ne dox na wala doxul mu ngi nii seet leen ngeen wax ma bu fekkee ne noonu la ngeen ñu bàyyi ko noonu bu fekkee ne noonu wan leen ñu loo xam jox ñu firnde pour won ñu ne ñun dañ daanu dañ juum bu ko defee ñun dañ ko rek wax ñoom joxuñ auditeur bi dara pour won ko ne dafa daanu li mu wax du yoon defuñ ko auditeur bi génn ma leen man li ma gis lii la te yéen jox le ma loo xam ne dina wane ne du yoon soo nañ ko bàyyi foofu yéen ngeen xam ne lii moo xew déwén boo leen a liggéeyati ngeen bàyyi xel loolu seet ne lii xewoon ren lu xewati déwén pour yàq gi bañ a continuer loolu lañ ci jublu yow ñëw loo wax ñu loo xam ne du dégg ci li auditeur bi wax nga naan ñu wax ba mu xalaat lu lim xalaat li kayit yi joxe li firnde yi woon ne loolu la génnee won ko réew mi te yow mënuloo ko wax leneen loo xam ne du yoon ci li mu wax pare nga toog di jéem a yàq deram looloo tax ñu génne Modou Cissé ci place am parce que xam nañ ne li mu wax mooy dëgg xam nañ ne defal na report bi dëgg bi dina génn te xam nañ déwén mooy élection suñ toogee fii ñu wone seen jaaxum ñu gars yi def ci réew mi lañ luubal suñu xaalis ci réew mi doomi Gambie dañ leen mere ñu leen sànnil karta loolu moo tax ñu daxa Modou Cissé bi fi Karamba Touré jógee woon Karamba joxe na fa report yu set auditeur général wax ci réew mi ne lii la nguur gi def lii moo fi réer ci xaalis lii lañ fi luubal fii lañ jalgatee luwaay génnee yëpp taaj ko ñu meree Karamba waxtu bi retirement jotee ñu ne ko mu goog yow fu nekk yow demal ñu bàyyi ko mu dem ñu dem jëlee Modou Cissé ci biti Karamba bu doon dem waxoon na leen ne ci auditor général office am na fa juróom-ñetti nit ñoo xam ne mun nañu def liggéey bi promoteur ñu nekk auditor général gars yi bañ dem jëlee Modou Cissé ci biti fu mu ne Modou Cissé na def liñ bugg a ñoom ñu indi ko yàlla def moom mi buur mu def ne Modou Cissé doxal yoon moo tiimam bi ñu def li war génnee yàq bi nekk ci nguur gi sàcc bi nekk ci nguur gi luubali alal réew bi nekk ci nguur gi jalgati lu waay nekk ci nguur gi mu génnee yépp teg ko ci biti gars yi beree ko ñu ne ko doo ko fi génnee dañ cee teg suñ conco comme ni ko Macky daan waxee mu ne ko def kenn fi tëj ci concoom ñu génne report si wala ñu génne report ñu dàq ko parce que liñ ko bëgg a def mooy dàq la rek yow fi mu nekk sa report du fi génnati dañ la fay jëlee yëf la ministre teg la foo xam ne mënuloo liggéey ñu mun laa dàq foofu ba soo fa toogee tuuti parce que li nga def neexuñu ñu indi keneen koo xam ne dina suul report si bu ko suulee du génne fi léegi déwén balaa élection tey jeex moo tax ñu dàq Modou Cissé bañ nag dem court waaye xoof ne Supreme Court na ko jox dëgg gi parce que moom moo amee dëgg waaye lu mun a mel rek Gambien si xam nañ li xew am nañ ne nguur gi ñii dafa génnee seen jaaxum seen yàq ci réew mi seen luubali alali réew mi lañ génnee ñu meree ko dàq ko mu ne leen man loi bi dafa ma jox pour ma toog fi juróom-ñeneenti at su ma defut loo xam ne dafa méngoot ak yoon su ma yaaxee luwaay réew mi su ma jalgatee luwaay réew mi wala su ma feebaree wala man maa resign waaw su ko defut loolu su amul mu leen mën a dàq ñu ne ko waat dañu dàq nag ba tey ñoom ñu yaaxal luwaay réew mi dàq ko pour report si bañ a génn waaye yàlla dafa ñu ko génnee ci report si génn nag ñëpp gis li xew soo gaa continuer seen mer bi dem toog ci réew yi di leen wax lu leen neex duñ leen bàyyi ngeen wax lu leen neex dinañ wax Gambien si li xew ci réew mi parce que du ñun ñoo binda lii auditor général moo ko binda te yéen a fal auditor général mu def liggéey moo tiimam génne report si seen minister of finance nangu ko mu certify ko yéen ngeen gën a taxaw tey taxaw da ngeen a wax lu leen neex naan ñii ko wax xamuñ li ñuy wax yow yaa war a dem jàngi léegi yaa war a dem jàngi parce que yaay chief of staff yi président yaa war a toog di ko wax di ko xelal di ko wax loo xam ne moom xamu ko parce que comme seen ministre waxee président Barrow is clueless yow yana fi mu ne ko yaa ko dimbale mu am clue nag parce que yow sax yow clueless itam naka laa demee damal jàngi parce que ay da xamuloo lañ bind ci report si oo da nga teyteelu wax nit ñi la neex te duñ la bàyyi nga wax nit ñi lu la neex dëgg gi dañ ko génnee parce que kayit yi wér ñoo ko génnee teg ko fii ci biti mooy audit report si soo doo fi tuumal kenn doo fi yàq dari kenn ñu toog di la seetaan nañ la koolaat wax ko jërëjëf lii dafa important pour ñu wax ko pour ñëpp dégg waaye nañ del si next week semaine bii ñëw nañ del si toog wax faram-fàcce lii yëpp xam lim ci nekk audit report si dañ ko dooroon jeexaluñ ko waaye next week dañ ñëwaat faram-fàcce lépp incha allah jërëjëf.
Okay. Thank you very much, Lamina Baraka. Mbadi lamoir lalu bin nata na usual aramisa kachala. Bari bin na kacha folota men na wala mu auditor general report sabo men fintindi. In Sanji Sabo 2021, 2022 and in 2023. Yalon tetata nun coffee time le wo talata tambila ñing kununko talato minister fula Mod Sise president la chief of staff secretary general and minister in the presidency mo kilin nafa saba ani Ismaila Sise wolle tata coffee time I kontol kam memfo auditol la reporto to malon kam memfo ito le alon I kam memfo barintel lafta menkela wala munyinti ko bi mbe jabila le to kayitandi la ko ye memfo nga moy bari ñing aramisa nala ni ngalen niyo siama mbe ñu audit reportol natilale mbe programme o be kela wodron net ka faram fansin dale ka jaba kese wotali ka itandal la ko lañi mansa kunda audito general memfo ato nyala audito general munefo ako ate menje kabra ñing auditol ke ñing sanji sabo ay menje wala mu ñinti ko Gambia la na kodi bukol ma itanda tela ko mansakunda la kodo ya itanda tela nyamen a correcta wala nya
kontibol
ay na kontibo amang correct wanya ako atefe mansakunda e kaitol men itanda pour que kontibo wo kaitol mote lanole they are unreliable so ni auditor general ofo ntetata coffee time nte da fango ma discrepancy kuwala discrepancy mumuneti fengol membe man sakunda la bukoto anim fengol membe banko kono ibuka ke kilinti ni man sakunda la bukol ni bank statements man ke kilinti wala mu discrepancy wala ni ko e moto tansang ye osang million tanela atara million sabalem wo sifa fana mu discrepancy let aka te kijobol akonya ko ye mune miraje ngai ngame miraje simple auditor general ye mem fo wala niaje ako nyin discrepancy amal lala is because ye kaitol men diala ye kibarol men diala ye bank statement ol men diala akoy manke toñati ifota nyokol
yes
wala mu manke toñati so ni fota nyoko wo fota nyoko wo tata billion keme anim billion tan anin kili wala ñimmol dimi ka foko on tol malom be mem fola wallahi nim mod si se alon tol tambita damen na fombe futarimbe damen bi ata la ñing kuma fuurimu fola because kuma fuurimu lam akate do ko ke ministry of finance ay do ko mod si se intel fananga do ko ke ministry tole mbota je entata international arena nga budgetol me alon ko dollar million kemelul asiatat so kana si ka fon tole nga do ko kijang ye do ko menke wallahi ni e kontibo isi bulole kunto e kumbo katuite be kuwol bele kono ibe kuwol bele kono fem fintita chief of staff hanin tol tata coffee time nae message key nae text message key aka ki Peter ka for state house para manke state house ite mod si selo so nte lafta mellon na fote un politician ole ti bang fo civil servant ole mut because ñing auditor la ñi reporto
foto nya mole bu bang
ha
fo ninde raka bolo fala do
minaje fo civil servant lem bang fo civil servant because nin civil servant lem general orders 03104 you are violating it wo ngani general order mem fintinda ko ni mu civil servant manyane dadu na political
yes
mod si ser katadulal beto taranga be diamula political atam politician wal tiban for civil servant lema secondly tonya fo yalla harama di wisi ke nyawanya si du nyawanya tonya fo molie nata ko ko nying auditol ye nyimeng foteng a enteren mbe kukela je para meteren ite kukela je ntol membe o faramfansinde la tolye atol senela la ka ba tol men na kodo pisir pasar kan tol be o faramfansinde la tolye ikanantol ataki ka fonyo kalbe mem fo kal malo ndela resisi lamin mane mbe mem fo kam malo no natra ko politiko te be mod system ba invite la ngata tati pere bar politiko lam amang tara tonya kan amang tara silo kan man tara tonya kan
mursi fango yolonne afango yolonne atela lo tile mujumati atela lo tile mujumati to bika wasu mbika siso konkon katul londo man tafanna kelin barentul fanan alhamdulillah alay men dinna manjutu wala so motise wallahi nem maloyti mi fana malonti de so kana sinindi ate ya fo fay kumo fe dron katu ni be so ni demel gambe dingoli ite nyen to nyaale fola inyanta min kala wala baro bal al fon ko baro man ku bondi nyoto al kay his clueless
ala ani membe programme
wala so ite mala chief of staff ite nyanta ma ko la pour ko bondi nyoto so te manyana sile ko mo fami diate doron so ta baro ya fa konko yul kam en fo nyin nyin ne bije auditor you ne fo auditor kam en fo nyin nyin ne bije ni auditor ko ya kacha ya understand ya faham min be kere bal kam fahamoke allo ala ma ko fahamoke ka na ma fahamo gambel be batale bije bal ba nene la doron min diata ko fay doron pour atasi wo muta doron
abe filindi la
bari min kan sila ñu ko to wala baro fango la ko kan sila fango ye kata ñaabi ñu lebe tulunna la be tulunna hakilo la abe sira be derin tek sama ni nga duuta ñu be bor la ye filije ite bita commission to baro ñu atayul to la jan be bor la banko bula ite bita commission to ifanan be na be telefon tel urisi wala njerno kuno siguna da ko mi ya nafa kuno e wolon ntol men ka foy to nyamu nyin ni nyinete ntol la mu teri ntol la ke ma ko ntol la mu baade wati milke nyori ko kam man ka to nyaade sama si wala ko la ko ye bulo king fo def la kuntula wala be jamme fe nyola bi nyenta karana jamme la ko wala ñu kam foy to nyaati je dara du ci dega dara be dara jeex du ci dega mo ci xam na ko xam na ñun xam nañ ko ñu bëgg xamal doomi réew pour ñun tam ñoom tam ñu xam ne li ñoo wax du dëgg li auditeur wax mooy dëgg ñu génn di yàq ay deri nit ñi waaye du fi romba du fi jàllati jeex na jërëjëf.
ok ala baraka mbaɗimol mbe murlana ñing audit kuola le kadu ñi mu kulati me alon ko toñani wuli ala ɓe kelo ntol ɓe toñala folale buti tol kam même faale atol fango siwajibe fo mu toñati fa manke toña
yalo kam foto fan ya mo lo ko de rabbi ka sima
mo dole ka fu ko manin kol ka fo le ko nin toñani wuliya wulta somanda wuliya katala dunya be murum jan nin toña bala samato dun
yes
so bari ka bendulal to ni benda men jele ka koy bina wala to ten mbadi manin ko lumbe danale wolto ñing audit report ko la fo aramisa nala ning ala sont
inshallah
saying lamin let us transition into the new podcast content that we are going to be dealing with. As I indicated earlier, the podcast will be based on what a UDP government is going to do to address these issues.
Yeah.
And one of the most compelling issues facing this country today is this rampant systemic, entrenched systemic corruption that is in the country. It is done with no lack of accountability. It is also done with a serious pinch of impunity to it. The rampant corruption is systemic. It is everywhere. So what UDP will be doing about corruption are some of the issues that we are going to be talking about. The other issue that we are going to be talking about is what kind of reforms that a UDP government is likely to bring or is going to bring. I have clustered it into 3, but it can expand. The first reform is the constitutional law reform. Reforming certain laws, bringing in the 2020 constitution, and reform some of the institutions that are going to be actively involved in pushing the country's agenda forward. And then there are going to be economic reforms and security sector reforms. I think by way of an introduction, let us do that. But the chapeau is going to be that we are going to be, a UDP government is going to be performing on the basis of efficient service delivery to Gambians. Service delivery, health, education, water, sanitation, electricity, roads, and the cost of living, the famous cost of living that never keeps coming down, it only keeps going up. So those are some of the things that a UDP government is going to be seized with, and we are going to be seized with it based on a deep commitment to the well-being of Gambians. We are not going to be these corrupt activities. We are not going to condone those corrupt activities that we are talking about in these audit reports. Gambians pay taxes for us to provide services to them. A UDP government is going to stick to that mantra very strictly to say, you should not embezzle public funds. You should not mismanage, embezzle funds. You should know that if you do, there are consequences. We have a situation where there are no consequences to what is happening. And that is why we have ministers who should be telling Gambians what they're going to be doing to address these audit issues and other issues, but instead they deflect, they deny, they personally attack, and never give you any plausible solutions. I think I'll stop there for now.
Yeah, and that's going to be probably the key difference between UDP and NPP. When we come to power at the end of 2026, we're going to go ahead with the reforms that the country needs to transition from the dictatorship that prevailed in this country for 22 years and which is being prolonged today by Barrow and his government. Because when you have the 1997 Constitution still in force, still governing the Gambia, when you have the Public Order Act still there, nothing done about it, you are in effect continuing what was happening under the dictatorship. What we will be doing is we'll be implementing reforms and significant comprehensive reforms, which will start with the fundamental law of the country, the Constitution. We have to reform this Constitution in the sense that we will repeal the 1997 Constitution and replace it with the 2020 draft. Because there is no point tinkering around the edges of the 1997 Constitution. Some things were urgent to do at the time, they were done. But we cannot go tinkering around it all the time, so we're just going to replace it by the 2020 draft, which was done by the CRC and which the Gambians approved in their entirety, and we're going to move with that. If there are a few things to be changed here and there, we can do those in Parliament. But we're going to bring back the 2020 draft. People tell, no, you cannot do it. No, it's not true. There's nothing legally which stops us from bringing that constitution, that draft constitution back. And we will bring it back. And the Gambians will be allowed to vote on it to give their point of view. Whether to accept it or not to accept it. It's a very high threshold. But the governments have given their consent to that, and I'm sure they will vote for it because this is what's required to give independence to the institutions of the country, to make the country function in a way that's going to be helpful and useful to all of us. You can get the chief of staff, the chief of defense staff, independence. You can give the Inspector General of Police independence. We wouldn't be having what we have today with the shooting of the PIU officers that's going on still in court. you wouldn't have the judiciary behaving the way it is today. We wouldn't have the security forces being constrained in implementing the law to curb corruption, to curb drug trafficking, to curb arms trafficking and dealing in the country. They will be free to do the work properly. Those reforms are needed. We wouldn't have the people who have been adversely mentioned in the TRC report who are still in government and in the security forces. People have been named as junglers in the TRRC document. People have been adversely mentioned, and they're still receiving Gambia government salaries, still being paid from our tax dollars. Why is that? Why can the government do, and they will tell you, no, we're waiting for a comprehensive action to be able to deal with that. And what's that comprehensive action? A hybrid tribunal. What stops them from discharging those people of their duties today? The people who admitted themselves in the TRRC that they were involved in the killing and maiming of Gambians. What is so difficult about removing those people from the security forces today? Why do you continue paying them our tax dollars? Why are those people meeting in the streets, the relatives of their victims, and they're still being paid by those people's tax dollars? Why can't we prosecute some of them using the laws of the country today? There are laws which allow us to prosecute people who kill and maim. You don't need a hybrid tribunal to prosecute some of those things. Some of the actions, yes, we need a tribunal. But for most of them, we can prosecute them under the current positive laws of the Gambia. We can do that. Why don't you do it? Because there is no appetite for reform in that sector. There's no appetite for enforcing the recommendations of the TRRC. Why is that? Because simply Barrow has co-opted the same people who did all of those wrong things under the Barrow regime, under the Jammeh regime. He co-opted them into government with him. That's why he's not doing it. Otherwise, there's every reason to go ahead today and suspend, at least suspend those people in the security services who killed and maimed our sons and daughters in this country. For God's sake, we don't need to give them our tax dollars anymore. Suspend them at least. Some of them should be remanded to custody for having accepted that they killed and maimed Gambians, and non-Gambians for that matter. So those are security sector reforms that we can be doing, judiciary sector reforms. Why is it not happening? Why don't we have a new constitution that gives the possibility to these institutions to be independent, that gives Parliament the authority to be a co-equal branch of government that will oversee the executive branch and oversee it effectively. Today, what happens? When the Auditor General writes his reports, it goes to the Minister of Finance, he certifies it, and it goes to Parliament. Parliament goes through with FPAC and the rest, and they make recommendations to the police and the Attorney General to do something. They don't need to make recommendations. They need to institute actions immediately. Parliament does not need to. Look, the executive is involved in the wrongdoing, right? And you go to them and say, now we think you should implement it. Why would they implement it against themselves? You go to the Parliament should be given the authority to seize the police with these matters or the courts with these matters, and then they immediately prosecute the people involved. Why does that have to go to the executive just in the first place behind the malfeasance? Those need to be reformed. So if we reform the Constitution and bring in a new one, the Parliament would have the authority to immediately go after these people who are embezzling our funds. The impunity will stop. But today, no. They have to go and seek the authorization of the executive. The executive is the culprit. And I wouldn't even say they are presumed innocent until proven guilty. Because in this case, there's every indication, every circumstantial evidence. There is a web of circumstantial evidence showing that they are involved in this. If they are not involved, let it go to court and it be adjudicated in court. But no. We have to go and seek their permission to prosecute them. That doesn't make any sense.
No. Yeah,
so these are the sort of reforms we're talking about currently that we need to do.
Yeah.
Plus many other sectors. And that's what the UDP will do when we get to government in 2022. We'll quickly bring back the 2022 Constitution so we can have all of these things working and happening in the country. I'll leave it there for the moment, Larry.
You know, Lamin, sitting here listening to what you're saying and looking at myself, this is a sad moment for the country.
Very.
It is sad because the promise of a new Gambia has not been kept.
No.
Like all the other promises that have not been kept.
Yeah.
The promise of a new Gambia was to bring in a new constitution to replace the 1997 constitution in whole.
Yeah.
A large sum of money was spent to draft a new constitution. That constitution making process went around the country. It spoke to ordinary folks on the streets, farmers, women, youths, business people. And their view is we need a new constitution, and what was contained in that new constitution came directly from the people. Barrow comes into power, the promise of a new Gambia, gone. We are still dealing with the 1997 constitution. Otherwise, just day before yesterday, Ghana has just set up a financial crimes court. And I happen to be in a country in Southern Africa. We actually assisted them to set up two courts. One was a commercial court that will deal exclusively on commercial arbitration issues. And the other one is economic crimes issues. Countries are busy harnessing their resources and investing it in their people while we are busy implementing a constitution that was promulgated under a dictatorship with such draconian provisions such as the Public Orders Act. So, the promise has been broken. The 3 years promise has been broken. I'm going to give you a country that is transparent, that is honest, that is accountable, gone. In its place, rampant systemic entrenched corruption. So Gambians, we need to wake up to the fact that this current crowd cannot change our lives. They have changed their lives in some very fantastic ways. Because when you look at what the Auditor General has revealed, you realize that there is money in this country, lots of it. When you look at the Jana Commission's reports, you realize that there is money in this country, lots of it. And if those resources are harnessed properly and the well-being of Gambians, this country will be at a different level.
Yeah.
Levels that you can say you are a proud Gambian. I don't know about you, but when I travel and some of these immigration people, when I present my passport, they start laughing. How is your president doing, who claims he can cure
AIDS and the like, and diabetes and hypertension at the time?
Now, that embarrassment gave way to a situation where my president goes to the General Assembly, can't even read his written statement. And you have colleagues sending you messages to say, bruh, but you guys.
On the one.
Yeah, on the one.
How many comments did I get about that from my colleagues?
Yes, I mean,
making fun of the president.
Are making fun of us because the lack of competence, the lack of standards that we now have. And that is why we can have civil servants to go on a public platform to refute their own Auditor General's report.
Yeah.
It is sad, extremely sad. Gambians should be very saddened by these audit reports, but they should be even more saddened by the fact that you have sitting cabinet ministers who are disputing their own Auditor General's report.
You imagine under an Ousainou Darboe government,
Yeah.
Do you see a Minister of State going on TV to dispute an Auditor General's report? It will not happen. It will not happen. You would not dare sit in an Ousainou Darboe government and you go on TV to come to dispute an Auditor General's report. You'll probably be out of government that day. It won't happen. That's the integrity we're talking about for a leader. A leader who knows what the issues are, a leader who will stand by principle, a leader who will defend the institutions of this country and the men and women who man and, should I say woman, those institutions, because we keep saying man, maybe we should start saying about woman in those institutions. This is what we're talking about. We're talking about integrity at the helm of state. No minister, no advisor, or no prominent officer in a Usainu Dabo government would dare go to this state television or private radios or whatever and say something like that. You wouldn't dare. Because we will have men and women of integrity in that government.
And a government with standards.
With standards and with a leader who has principles and who will stand up for those principles and who will make sure that the men and women he chooses to man that government will live by the same principles. That's the difference. This is what we're talking about. This is why we want that change in government. This is why we want a new government to come into this country, because this government will not cut it. Larry, we have seen 9 years of a president who sits there and sees his ministers and his top civil servants and his advisors flout the laws of this country. And he doesn't say anything. They play with the principles.
Doesn't do anything.
Exactly. Exactly. And that's what's bringing in the impunity. And it's that impunity we're fighting in this country. As long as we have impunity, the corruption will continue. The mismanagement will continue. The embezzlement and diversion of funds will continue. And Gambians have to make up their minds. And I think most people have already. You cannot cut your nose to spite your face. You cannot say, I don't like Usainu Dabo for whatever reason, so I'm going to vote for Adama Barrow. It doesn't make sense. The two are not even near each other. They don't play in the same league. Adama Barrow is in the amateur league, when Usainu is in the professional top-tier league. They are different. So you cannot just let that happen to this country. We have to love ourselves enough to do what is right. This government cannot be reformed. There are reforms to be done, but it's not the government. The government has to be replaced, and then we can do the reforms. Yeah.
For reforms, we kiss those goodbye.
Yeah.
Because what you cannot reform in 8 years,
9 years.
9 years, you cannot reform in a year and a half. Yeah. Going into
in 14 months.
Like I said, the promise of a new Gambia is gone out the window.
Yeah.
The never again mantra is gone out the window.
Yeah.
And life continues.
Yeah.
The trust of our podcasts from today, aside from the one we are going to do tomorrow on the corruption thing, is going to focus on the five-point agenda. And let me remind our viewers this 5-point agenda.
Yeah.
Agenda 1 is youth employment and empowerment. And agenda number 2 is education, skills, and training. Agenda 3, agriculture, food security, and nutrition. This may be replaced by food sovereignty. Sovereignty,
yes.
When we fine-tune it. And then public health, security, containment of pandemic diseases and social protection. Now, somebody actually said to me, but this pandemic containment, what do you mean by that? I said, well, HIV/AIDS came. I mean, not HIV/AIDS, COVID-19 came in 2020. We were not prepared for it. And we had to scramble on an emergency way to put resources together and the necessary staff to respond to a potential outbreak of COVID-19 in our country. And
most of those resources were diverted,
yes.
And the frontline staff were just left to die.
In fact, there is another audit report out on the Ministry of Health that somebody forwarded to me yesterday. When you read that and you look at how dilapidated our health sectors are,
And our medical staff are being left on their own.
Yes.
Yeah.
You realize that we have a lot of reforming to do. So that is the idea behind pandemic containment. In DRC, there is Ebola. In Sierra Leone, there is Ebola. Those are the kinds of diseases that this particular point of the agenda is geared towards addressing, meaning we need to have preparedness to respond to an eventual outbreak of any of these diseases.
Before you go past that point, just to buttress that point, when I was at the African Development Bank, and we moved back from Tunis to Abidjan, and Ebola was becoming an issue in West Africa because they had a very bad case, in Sierra Leone and in Guinea. This is an institution of about 2,500 staff.
Yeah.
But we built isolation units within the ADB premises.
Yeah. So you don't go
I think
anywhere.
about 6 or 7, where if we had any staff contracted, because we had our staff traveling all over the continent and all over the world, they could catch Ebola and come back. To protect the rest of the staff, to protect the rest of the country with which we were intermingling, we created isolation premises within the ADB headquarters. I think there were about 6 or 7 of them, where we could have moved those people immediately if they had Ebola, move them there, contain the disease, and deal with it there. Do we have anything like that in the Gambia? No, we don't. We don't have those kind of centers in the country. So when COVID hit, we were lucky that Senegal served as a buffer, because Senegal had a very good containment strategy. Yeah. That's what saved the Gambia.
They had the institutional framework also.
Institutional framework and the might and the prioritization of their effort. That's what saved the Gambia. Yeah. If Senegal had not, we would have had a disaster in this country. But we cannot just count on other people's efforts. We have to have our own efforts. We have to have pandemic containment initiatives in this country. Isolation centers, trained staff, equipment, medication, pharmaceutical facilities that will be able to produce those in the long run.
Yeah. That the population needs.
Exactly. So I just wanted to add that just to illustrate the point.
It's a fantastic addition because it buttresses. Everything we do will go not if there is a major pandemic outbreak that will literally neutralize all our achievements in a matter of days, weeks, and months.
Yeah.
The final point, 5 point, is energy and digital infrastructure. I don't need to remind people of NAWEC and the need for us to...
What they are putting us through these days.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Not just what they are putting us through in terms of the on and offs, but I have seen a new phenomenon in the way NAWEC gives us power. The surge.
Yeah.
The surge is actually so bad. You could put your lights on and they will just dim themselves. Yeah. And then all of a sudden, boom.
And that blows up something.
It goes up. And when that happens, something is invariably blown up. Yeah. I've seen that in the last 2 months. And I just said maybe they are transitioning from one system to another, but it's becoming a permanent feature in addition to the long hours of load shedding that is going on. So that energy and digital infrastructure.
I know people in Brikama and environs who have been asked to change their meters. Their meters are going berserk. Yeah. And they told, oh, actually, these meters are not good enough anymore. Yeah. We have to buy new meters.
Yeah, I saw that also. Because
the meters they brought and sold to those people, they didn't give it away free. They sold it to them. Now those meters are found to be substandard, and they knew they were substandard when they were ordering them.
They were ordering
but they ordered them, or they ordered substandard meters, sold it to the Gambian people, and today they are being asked to change those meters, to replace them, because now we've got substandard meters which cannot take the power issues in the country. Because they say now actually Brikama and environs have low voltage issues. Low voltage issues?
We have
that's what you're talking about.
Voltage issues.
So it's because of those low voltage issues, those meters cannot handle that anymore. They have to buy new meters. How do you know they have got the money to do it? So you're subjecting Gambians to expensive replacements because of your incompetence and corruption. You bought those meters, for God's sake, Nawek. You sold it to them. And today you tell them they have to replace those meters because there are power surge issues. You created hardship for those people. And you already have blown up so many appliances in this country, we can't even take you to court because you are insolvent. You're throwing good money after bad. What the heck is happening in this country?
In fact, the power surge issue, low voltage issue, is all over the country. When you go to the provinces, it's the same.
Yeah.
Sometimes you put on your lights and they just dim, as if they are going to go off.
Sometimes I put on my electric kettle.
Yeah.
It takes twice the normal time for the water to heat up.
To heat up, yeah. Because
or you put on AC, and it hardly gets cold.
Yeah, and if it runs at all, because at some point it goes and then it goes off.
Gambia is a sad case.
So these are some of the issues, and of course digital infrastructure. With the advent of AI, now the whole world is moving towards digitalization, and we have to be
on top of the game.
On top of our game when it comes to artificial intelligence and digitization. The problems of this country are encapsulated in this 5-point agenda. And of course, the 5-point agenda is just a synopsis of what is in the
manifesto.
The manifesto deals with it, with these issues quite comprehensively. And these documents were prepared by a group which I co-chaired. And it took us 2 years to prepare them. So nobody should try to belittle what those groups have done in terms of the substance of these documents. All the committees, sector committees, are led and composed of sector specialists. No, I'm not a sector specialist for agriculture, so I did not participate in that sector. People who are competent in that sector are the ones who did it. And so for 2 years, this formulation process has been going on. And every time I read them, it's like it's been done today.
And I dare say you did one hell of a job with that document.
Well, thank you.
I doff my hat to you guys. You did one heck of a job in that document. And it's still relevant today.
In fact, it's even more relevant with all these things that are coming out.
As you say, we might need to tweak it a bit for AI, which is a new phenomenon, which wasn't there when you did the job. But apart from those things where we need to tweak a bit because of developments in the world environment, the document is even more relevant today than it was at the beginning when it was done.
In 2020.
Exactly.
Exactly. It took us 2 years to do that document.
Bravo.
And I still, when I see members of those sector committees, I still shake their hands and say thank you, because I know the kind of work they have done.
Exactly.
To put these things together. We've been signaled to say the time is up.
Already?
Yes, so I think we can do
but since you were saying that, if I may just say, those sector committee members, be on standby. Because we might need to bring you back to fine-tune because of global developments. We might need to fine-tune some of those issues. We'll bring in new members. I was not here when these documents were being done. And if I get the opportunity to sit on those committees, I will be more than happy to contribute. But other people who have been there, before with you guys when you did those documents, I think they should be on standby because we'll have to bring them back, those who are available, to fine-tune, to address new emerging issues. Because that's the thing, the world is moving. And we move with it. Because that's the thing about UDP. We fine-tune, we upgrade, we make sure that we are ready. By the time we hit the State House, we'll be hitting the ground running. The producer says he's going to give us 10 minutes to do the Wolof and Mandinka. Okay, very good, very good. So you want to start in Mandinka or start in Wolof?
I can start in Mandinka.
Okay.
Salamu alaikum kotake badin lamoir lalu. Konga fale nyamen kabringa programo datin ko bi mbe secretary mbe president la chief of staff and minister of information ye même fo mambe wole jabila bari lafta itandile la le tronko ngalo nebe même fo kan manke to nyati bari ni lokuna la ni ala sontambe jabila le jabiro nyama nata fale fanan ko na podcast ni ka menki jang ninga nyin aramisa nala bondiche na programo be UDP mansakunda be menkela Gambia noli mbe bukarwole kacha aramisa wo kacha abe tundaring na 5-point agenda la ani manifesto wo 5-point agenda ani manifesto hanibi ni karang i kamera bile data relevant back so kumata mbe nka kuolu menu be fo ni UDP mansakunda nata corruption ombe munekelaje loi buko constitution ombe munekelaje because party leader ya foko na keta president ala makam follow be ka 2020 constitution ombrundina yo ni wobotaje fo mansakunda la departmental comme social security gamtel ministry of finance central bank nyanta wolu sembentun yandila nyaadile pour nyanta doku sifa menkele karake ikana sila ka foko santole ko nganyinke wala santole ko ngana nyinke loi même foye okay no botaje bankola munafam economic reforms be munekela pour ka bankola munafam sembentu yandi o fanan ni ajibe central bank be menke kan ministry of finance be menke kan nyin banku naful pisir pasaro membe ke kan o fanan fomo ajibe ibajibe la nyaadi le wala mu loi même fo weke nimmen ni kodo di la ni wulitan din tele ko nga telephone tansang nyanta telephone tan na fintin la wultan kon akana ke wuli akana sia wultanti akana do ya wultanti loi même fo drong na okay nyanta nyin reform laban men nyanta kela wala mun na security sector ti police olu sojarolu prison en SIS anin na security sector dolu minati na wol nyanta kela wo falingu nyanta kela be nga jele jane commission men ketaje bari be nga menje wala mu TRRC molu bi jele men ye molu fa molu bi jele men ye molu yankan katindi hani bi fe manke wala ibe yayla adama baro wol dolta e do ko dila e na motol dila ene anibita dulal to tarim ito lebe banko tamandika so lafta fula o security sector reform na keta momo e menke loi e men fo dro weke ka ate kala nyinti ko ka fo kare nyine ke kare no ni loi e men fo dro wala be kala ando no be kala TRRC ye mansakunda ya mari menna wala nyanta kala mba danna dulal to lami yalong kabrin 2016 mol kelo ke pour ya jamme bonde molu coalition o kete bulata adama barono yem promise menna ye lahido men tani wala mu nyintimbe Gambia kutola dilal wo Gambia kutola lahido amantim hani be Gambia kutola ko
Yes.
même falinta dron wala mo fal bari corruption o abakan na nkafnyo ma dole la fonko bungu kununko sungul duntaje ini murubal yala fengol beta hani sefo ya ta ya jin
olmu trame kundanko le ani fati kundanko
ni nyanchol le ko
ani wo nyaaju si sefi yam yalla nje wara kundanko
yemba jole ta ya mura sefo la ya dundi la nyin tuttu ko kon
ani olmu trame kundani fati kundaka ti ataji nje
ni fen sote la bun kono wale ka ya embe do kan comme suba nunto nte kam menke ni fajaro sal ye wirdo datim be do kay be tamala balo e fenke sai wo do bu kakke because ni fintita banta as possible
mo sako suba
moye attack so mfangol la muna fang banko sula ta kaw régler ni amal régler ni wo botala ñing ka fo me never again akana ke koteke o fanan lahido tiñatal akana ke koteke bari nin dindemul findita iko bita peaceful demonstration kata auditor general support ye pick up olon police lulu ye dindimu muta hanin telefon warta woti ndebe do ari nyam tele warta woti ya muta police lulu ya fay pick up ko me camera ko cruising wala andun ko never again the same thing wala keta mandinare police keba kalo aka fo nalman sorendala andun kido ben tollabu o be mu never again leti andabe ke kan ko tek so UDP man sakunda tol be loi normal loi même fo nga okay ni man loi tinya kutema ni loi tinya fanan tol ta fo la membe kelel ni loi tinya loi le be sambala anyante sambala nyami na programme na tra ko nga nying audit report o mamandi nyaram sanala ramso membe o kambe nying podcast kutama dati lawol ala barka
okay agora ka ndi kuma fuje o import en mina sulo kan remi fuje ni ku ke luwala be kulula ndol dati je usenu yole fo a kontina ka pour kana njoto man na jor kam ki joro tol man na jola ni mi kuuki abeni luwale teman tol dati je luwale be tilindi la silola luwale be kulwala le kan tol la haji tijen dati je tol man tol tina pour kan jori kundol dati woto so wala be caring and that's important pour que je fana senen usenu je fu bakara to luwa tiyolede mbokk yi maa ngi leen di sant di leen gërëmati li ñoo wax fii dañ ne woon programme yi tey bi ak yi ci topp dañ liñ fas yéene def mooy wax réew mi lan la UDP di def bu ñu toogee ci nguur gi end of 2026 parce que xam naa réew leen biir ne presidential election déwén la 5th of December dañ ne su loolu jeexee bu soobee yàlla Ousseynou Dabo mooy dem State House ñu jël nguuri réew mi teg ko ci yoon kon ñëpp mun cee am seen àq ak seen yelleef ñëpp mun cee am loo xam ne moom la doomi réew yëpp yelloo soo ci loolu lañ nekk ñun loolu lañ bëggoon a waxtaanee dooree tey waaye nag ñu gis ñaari ministre jógee ci nguuri baro bi ñoo toog di wax lu leen neex te mënuñoo bàyyi loolu mu jàll moo tax tey ñu ne dañ génn a wax li xam ne loolu la gars yi wax dañ ci bëggoon a wax lu gàtt rek waaye liñ wax dafa garaaw bi nga xam ne liñ ci wax foofu liñ ci jël dafa bëri te semaine bii ñëw bu soobee rek nañ toog waxtaan ci lii benn yoon mu jeex nag ba pare ñu mun a gestu li nga xam ne loolu la UDP def suñ toggee ci nguur gi loolu moo ñu tax a jóg ñun liggéey réew mi te suñoo liggéey réew mi ci lan la ñooy dooree mooy li ñoo ooy suñ 5-point agenda nga xam ne li ñu mën a def ci réew mi dafa bëri sakkan kenn mënu koo def yépp ci benn waxtu soo ci suñ manifesto bi dañu ràññee fukk ak juróom-ñaari fànn yi nga xam ne fa lañ la war a liggéey bu takku ci diir bu gàtt waaye xam nañu duñ mën a def yëpp ci benn waxtu bi ñu nañ ci seppi juróom yoo xam ne ñoo gën a am solo ñu dooree ci yooyu buñ ci jógee nag ñu dem ci yeneen li ci des te juróom yooyu nag mooy lan mooy jox ndaw yi liggéey jàppale leen pour ñu mën a taxawal seen bopp loolu mooy number 1 ñaareel bi mooy seen njàng bi dimbaleen seen njàng bu am solo boo xam ne dina leen mën a jox liggéey ëllëg mun leen a dem ci kanam mooy number 2 bi ñetteel fànn bi mooy mbéy mi ak lekk bu sell ak loo xam ne moom ñoo dimbale ñu mën a am li ñu bëgg ñun suñu bopp duñ ko uti ci biti li ñoo food sovereignty dañu wax food sufficiency dañu ne food sovereignty nga xam ne lu ñoo soxla li ñoo lekk fii lañ koy béyee fii lañ koy amee suñ dund bi fii lañ koo liggéeyee nga xam ne dañ ci am lu doy lekk ko lu doy li ci des ñu jaay ko ci biti ak ci lekk wu na nekk lekk bu sell nutrition bi duñ leen indi loo xam ne dafay da nga koy lekk suba nga am ci ay jafe-jafe ci sa wér-gu-yaram yooyu lañ taxawlu mooy ñetteel bi ñeneenteel bi mooy paj bi ku nekk war naa am fii dem ci lopitaan yoo xam ne nañ def faj yu gaaw ci yu baax nga mun a am sa wér-gu-yaram ci lu gaaw ci te mu bañ a seer loolu mooy ñeneenteeli fànn bi parce que doomi réew bi su fekkee ne mënuñoo am loolu am na lu manqué de parce que soo amut xaalis soo amut wér-gu-yaram loo mun a am ci xaalis bi da nga ko dugal ci faj te faj boobu dafa seer fan yi soo ko mënee am sax yeneen doo ko mën a am sax da ngay dem bitim réew da ngay dem Sénégal wala nga dem Turquie wala nga dem India wala feneen rek ci biti te am nañ ay ndoom ci réew ñoo xam ne borom seen xel yi màcc nañ leen dimbale train leen jàngal leen ñu gën a am xam-xam ut jumtuwaay yu doy ci suñu lopitaan yi def loo xam ne soxna ko lopitaan pour ñu mun a faj suñu doomi réew ci anam yu rafet loolu moo ñu tax a jóg te loolu bokkati ci dañoo ooyee pandemic control nga xam ne ay at ci gannaaw ñu ngi amoon Covid te Covid li ñu may wër sax ñun li ñu muccal mooy ne Sénégal mi ñu wër Sénégal am nañ policy bu baax pour mun a saafaral problème yi Covid moo tax ñun sonn ci sonn dañ ci waroon a sonn parce que ñun amuñ loo xam ne teral nañ ko pour mun a saytu mel noonu parce que réew da ngay seetu ci kanam nga xam ne lii mun naa am nga door di préparer nga xam ne su Covid ñëwee lii mun naa def li ñun fii amuñ foo mun a yóbbu ñooñu ñu xam ne dañ am Covid pour nga leen fajee leen fa loolu la daan def te daan jël yóbbu daan ndemaan amuñu li ñu soxla woon ñu bëri doon dee lépp ñu fay liggéey di am Covid liggéeykat lopitaan yi kenn faalewu leen woon dañ daan am benn glove ci fan yi surtout benn masque pour di whole day bi ñoo liggéey benn masque la ñoo am benn glove am benn protective gear seen gown si ñoo sol loolu yëpp war nañ koo liggéey nga xam ne ñoo dañ am lu doy ci protective gear yi duñu am pour sonn duñu am pour risk seen lives waaye amuñ ko fi woon amuñ garab yu doy lu bëri manqué woon na ci réew mi fii bu ñu uti xaalis bi ñëw Covid-19 fonds si ngay luubal ci lu mu ut 600 millions juróom-benn téeméeri million dalasi réer na ci yooyu la ñoo taxaw lu ñun UDP seet yooyu bu mën a am ñu am faju rafet ci réew mi mu jël teli fànn bi juróomeel bi mooy ICT mooy maanaam affaire yi internet affaire yi télévision yi affaire yi satellite ak yu mel noonu naka la ñoo def bu ñu am loolu lu doy ci réew mi ak énergie mooy maanaam courant ñëpp xam nañ fan yi li ñoo dund ci réew mi ci affaire yi courant coono gi ñu newee di teeg xam nañ ko yow lañ bugg a mu ci ñun nga xam ne dañ am courant bu doy ci réew mi ñu mun cee am ku nekk mun a am courant te du cher coono bi ñoo daj ci courant yi kenn réew ko mbir ñun suñu toogee dañ def solar plants fu nekk gis nga solar plant bi Ousseynou Dabo négocié woon pour Jambour dafa doon nekk 30 mégawatts suñu amoon juróomi mel noonu ci réew mi rek 150 mégawatts la mégawatt téeméer ak juróom fukki mégawatt suñ ko amoon ci réew mi suñu problème courant jeex na suñu amoon ñeneent suñu problème courant jeex na te duñu am pour jëndati diw heavy fuel oil duñ nekk loolu la ñoo taxawal ñun ci réew
générateur yu
màgget yi yëpp duñ ci sonnati so ñun yooyu la ñoo taxawal ci réew mi ne bu ko defee ñu mun a am courant bu doy mun a indi industrie si ñëw factory si mun a taxaw fii liggéey parce que boo amul courant kenn du ñëw sampa factory sa réew mi du am boole ci te ñu ngay gis la nañoo gis ñu ooy AI artificial intelligence nga xam ne suñ computer li moo liggéey li ñoo génnee léegi dafa bari doole bi nga xam ne ñëppaa ngi dem ci AI léegi te ñun gisuñ dara xoo xam ne ñu ngi koo def ci nguur gi pour mun a pareel réew mi pour AI dañu war a jàngal suñu doomi réew yi ICT yi affaire yi computer yi affaire yi internet bi jàngal leen ci lu jox leen scholarship ñu dem jàngi bitim réew dimbali University of Gambia ñu am li ñu mën a am pour mën a jàngale AI ak ICT fii lu baax mënoon nañ koo def waaye nguur gi séntuwu ko parce que du ko séntu ñoom xalaatuñ dara lu ñoo xalaat mooy seen bopp rek so suñ toggee ñun nañ def yooyu yëpp yi ñooy juróomi fànn ñoo ooyee 5-point agenda ci lu lañ bëgg a liggéey waaye am na yeneen fànn itam yoo xam ne nañ ci boole comme samp ay yoon samp ay pont samp ay factrice yu bëri am na fi ba tey waaye yi ñooy juróom yi gën a am solo yi xam ne yéen urgent yi la ñoo dooree dem ci yeneen yi soo ñu muñ toggee yi la ñoo def yi lañ bëgg a waxtaanee ak yéen nag waaye gars yi seen njublaam bi tax na tey mënuñ cee wax lu bëri waaye dañ waxtaan dañ koo càmbar rek tey bàyyi ko noonu nañ del si gën ci waxtaan ak yéen semaine bi ñoo moom benn rek la ñoo def dañoo dem ci audit board bi benn yoon mu jeexal ci nga xam ne from ñaari semaine ci kanam dañoo waxtaanee rek mooy mbiri réew mi nan la UDP di def suñ toogee naka la ñoo saafaral problème yi ci lu mu gën a gaawee dinañ am programme boo xam ne pour téeméeri fan yi njëkk yi xam ne ñetti weer buñ toogee lan lañ mën a def ci lu gaaw ci ñetti weer yi pour doomi Gambie mën a am seen àq ak seen yelleef ci réew mi pour wàññi coono bi wàññi lépp nañ am loolu nañ am dañoo def ci des ci mandat bi so loolu lañ bëggoon a waxtaan ak yéen waaye ñaari semaine ci kanam dinañ doore di waxtaanee loolu pour yéen xam lan la UDP nar pour réew mi lan lañ bëgg a def ak lan lañ mën a def ci naka lay gaawee ak naka lay yéexee tuuti am na yoo xam ne naka la yéex waaye lu bëri dañ ko def ci lu gaaw loolu lañ war a waxtaanee ak yéen ñu càmbar ko rek tey bàyyi ko nañ ci dellusiwaat ñaari semaine ci kanam gën cee mën a waxtaan ak yéen fi léegi boobu nag ñu leen sant di leen gërëm di leen ñaanal fan bu gudd ak wér gu yaram ci ñi government bi yal na ñu yàlla may fan bu gudd ak ñun ñëpp ñu fekkee ko yàlla bu ci kenn manqué mais ñu wér ak wérle yokk ñu doomi réew yokk ñu xéewal loolu la ñoo ñaanal ñëpp even nguur ñu leen ñaanal xéewal te xéewal bi mooy jub waaye fii boobu nag ñu leen la sant di leen gërëm di leen jox dig daje next week incha allah.
file booba rek baro rek lañ sant. Okay, thank you very much. Thank you very much, listeners. We appreciate your time for allowing us to beam into your houses, into your homes. We thank you for your viewership. We also want to thank our young crew for the sterling job that they've been doing, continue to do. We are seeing great improvements in our surroundings here in terms of the studio and the equipment that comes on. Thank you very much.